Hey, what is up guys? This is Nishi from MST.TV here, back with another Market Watch episode. So today we are taking a look at some cards where their prices are shifting due to them being important pieces of various meta decks. Now with some cards, these are really key important pieces, but with other decks they might be more obscure tech cards or just one-ofs that have caught people off guard that everyone is scrambling to find and pick up. This is why it's important for us, even as people who mostly just buy and sell, to still pay attention to the meta, right? Because what the best decks of the format are is going to be one of the main driving forces behind a lot of these price fluctuations. Let's get started. Now to kick things off, we're looking at Sword Soul of Moye. So I don't know if this is surprising to anyone or not, but Sword Soul is currently one of the best decks of the current format. On the ban list, they didn't really lose anything outside of being able to use Auroradon through the Halki Fibrax line. However, they did gain back a second Pot of Desires while the decks around them got weaker. And even though Despia is still around and they now have to compete with the Therion cards, the Sword Soul deck is still seeing a lot of competitive success. As a result, Moye, arguably the most important card in the Sword Soul deck, has climbed in price over the last few weeks, going from around $25 all the way up to $45 before now settling back at around the $40 mark. The deck is still extremely relevant, and I am expecting to continue to see it be a top deck for the next several months. Now Moye should be reprinted in the 2022 Megatins, but that is still several months away, and the deck is probably going to be a mainstay in the top tables throughout the national season, though of course it wouldn't surprise me to see the deck get hit around October, after nationals and after the card finally sees that reprint. Now overall, if you guys want to play Sword Soul over the next few months, you're gonna have to pay up a bit for them because they are likely going to continue to be one of the top decks for a while. Because of this, and because the Megatins aren't due to come out until the fall, you have a couple of months to sell your Moyes at its current price before the fear of a ban list and a reprint starts to kick in. So while we're talking about Sword Souls, it is also important for us to take a look at Baron de Fleur. Baron is a generic level 10 synchro monster that provides an Omni Negate once while it's face up on the field, and also has an effect where you can bounce it back to the extra deck to special summon a level 9 or lower monster from out of your graveyard during the standby phase. Baron has been an expensive card since its release, ranging in price from as low as like $90 all the way up to $140. Now for a while, it did seem like Baron was starting to trend downwards. We saw it down at around 100 to 110 about a month ago. However, after the most recent ban list, I think people took notice of just how well Sword Soul has been doing, and of course Baron is a necessary extra deck piece for the deck to be able to function and make strong end boards. Of course, being able to make like Cheng Yang or the new Long Yun, those are great, but Baron provides that hard negate that can be really valuable in a simplified game state, and can also be used to play around Nibiru, which a lot of people are side decking right now. As a result, Baron has steadily been climbing in price over the last few weeks, just recently hitting the $140 mark, which I believe matches its all-time high. Realistically, the card is probably due for a reprint, though it's hard to see exactly when that's going to be, right? Part of this is likely speculation that it could have been in Ghost from the Past 2, but with it dodging that, the next reasonable places that it could be are the 2022 Megatins or Battles of Legend Crystal Revenge. Each of those doesn't come out until like August or September, and Baron is going to be a necessary card for people that want to play Sword Soul throughout the national season, so it's pretty reasonable for the card to continue its upwards trend. Overall, if you guys do want to play Sword Soul, then just like with Moye, you're going to have to suck it up and pay up for the card. Hopefully you can get your use out of it and then be able to sell it before that reprint does get announced. Next up, we have Melly of the Trees. So this is a rank 3 monster that requires 2 level 3 earth monsters to make. This is a pretty old card that has 2 simple effects. You can detach a material from it to either send a plant from your deck to the graveyard, or special summon a plant from your graveyard to your side of the field. Now the reason that this card is seeing hype isn't actually for the Sanavalon Therion deck, but rather because of Punk Therion. It just so happens that the level 3 Punk monsters are Earth, so you can use their effects to search, and then while they're still on the board you can make Melly, and then either dump or revive a copy of Lily Borea. Melly doesn't negate the effect of the monster it summons, so you do get to use the effect of the Lily that you're reviving, which is really cool. And making this card is probably not that difficult, since Emergency Teleport is now back to 3 as well. This card is pretty cool. I actually have like 50 copies or so of this card, but I've had them for a really long time. I actually thought this was going to be used with Crane and Card Trooper, but that never really did anything. So I ended up just sitting on a bunch of copies. Anyways, guys, this card only has 2 secret rare printings available, with the last one coming out back in 2015, so it's quite old. There's the original secrets from Shadow Specters, which are about $11 each, and then the Megaton reprints, which are around $8, so not a huge price gap between the 2 different printings. However, it is actually a noticeable difference between the 2, since with the originals, the first edition symbol is above the text, whereas with the reprint, it is below the text box. Now, fortunately, this card is just a one-of, and Punk Therion hasn't really taken off as being a huge influence within the meta quite yet. This is an old card where we're going to have to balance the card's performance within the meta against our expectations of the card being reprinted, since obviously if the deck does better, its price is going to go up, but if the card gets reprinted, then its price is going to tank. I would say that for now, at least dig them up out of your bulk and then see how well the Punk cards are going to do in the current format before deciding for yourself if you want to dump them while there's some hype around them, or hold on to them just in case the deck does continue to get better. Okay, so this is kind of a strange one, but the next card we're looking at here is Gozuki. This is a level 4 zombie monster that lets you once per turn dump a zombie from your deck to the graveyard, and then also if it's sent to the graveyard, you can banish another zombie from your graveyard to special summon a zombie from your hand. So this card provides 2 useful functions for zombie decks, which is great. Though to be fair, zombies aren't exactly a meta strategy at the moment. We see Necroworld Banshee and Zombie World cited into some Despia lists, but that's about it. However, with the new zombie support that just came in Dimension Force, there are certainly a lot of casual players that want to play with the new cards, especially when you consider that the existing support like Vampire Sucker and Doom King Baylordrock were all reprinted in Ghost from the past 2, so all of this stuff is actually quite accessible and easy to put together. Now, Gozuki does have 3 different printings, but they are all a little bit difficult to find. The only holo printing is from Duelist Saga, an older set that was a combination of reprints and imports. Those are going to be about $10 each right now, and then it has 2 common printings. Those are from the Structure deck and an OTS tournament pack. Not the easiest ones to find. Either of those is actually going to be $7 to $8 a piece. I know that for myself, I have a few extra copies of this card that are in my bulk that I'm going to have to dig up and offload. I definitely recommend for you guys to do the same, just in case we do see that Gozuki reprint come up within the next couple of months, because although zombies might be popular and hyped up, given the recent reprints and support, I'm not expecting them to be a meta-relevant deck anytime soon. Next up, we're taking a look at Platinum Gadget. So the last time we talked a little bit about ABC Therions and how the deck is actually pretty scary, able to make some really strong end boards. Platinum Gadget is an extra deck option for ABC Therions that is really useful. You can make it with 2 machines, and then during your main phase you can special summon a level 4 or lower machine monster from your hand. Now in ABC, this can help you to get another letter out onto the board so that you can go into the ABC Dragon Buster, or alternatively, it can summon out like the Torque Tune gear so that you can make Halki Fibrax or a Synchro with it. So overall, just a really versatile extra deck piece here. Now unfortunately, you can't link with this card the turn you summon it, which is probably a good thing because you could definitely make some crazy Appaloosa boards with this if you could actually link it off. Now the card is just a one-of, but it has also just the 1 printing from back in Dual Power, which at this point is proving to be one of those sets that just keeps on giving. There is a lot of hidden value from there. The card was only a couple of dollars before, but it's now all the way up to $7 to $8 each. Not breaking the bank or anything, but if you opened up some Dual Power and might have this card lying around somewhere, it's certainly worth setting aside. However, I don't think that this card has any real applications outside of the ABC deck, unless you're trying to play like Gadgets in 2022. This is definitely one of those cards that you offload while there's some hype around it before the hype dies down. The next card we're taking a look at here is Abyss Actor Curtain Raiser. Now shout out here to Ramen Cup BMG for mentioning this card in the comments of the last video. So the card is pretty simple. It's a pendulum monster where if you activate it in the skill and you control no monsters, you get to special summon it out. However, you can only use this effect once per duel. So with pendulums, the game plan is the same with Beyond the Pendulum now as it was back when Electromite was still in the game. Get 2 monsters onto the board to make your link with, search, pendulum summon, and then combo off. So even though Curtain Raiser is a once per duel effect, really using that effect the one time is all you need to get your deck going, and aside from that, it's just a 7 skill or a level 4 body that you can pendulum summon out. Obviously, with Beyond the Pendulum's release and the unbanning of Monkey Board combined with Triff's insistence that pendulums are the best deck ever, people are going to look at pendulums as a potentially viable strategy at the very least. Curtain Raiser is a card that has gone up in price because it just has the one printing, which came out all the way back from the first Battles of Legend set, Battles of Legend Light's Revenge, and as a result, the card is currently all the way up at $9 a piece. That's a lot considering that the card was only a couple of dollars before. I personally think that the card is due for a reprint, maybe in like an OTS tournament pack as either a common or a super. I don't really see too many people actually paying up for this. If you can offload these, even at like $6 to $7 each, something like that, I would move all of your extra copies that you don't need as soon as possible and just cash in on the hype. Alright, the last card we're taking a look at in today's episode is Pendulum Fusion. So if you guys don't know what this card is, I don't blame you. One of my friends told me about this and I was like, that's not really a card, but apparently it is. Here we are. Anyways, Pendulum Fusion is a pretty simple fusion spell. You can only fuse using monsters on your field, or if you have cards in each of your scales, then you can fuse using those pendulum scales as material as well. I guess it's kind of interesting. I think that the idea was that you could summon something in Metal Foes maybe after you do your combo, but honestly this card just seems really bad. I think the idea behind this buyout is that you could use it to special summon the Petitiel Couverture, the new Pendulum Fusion monster that came out in Dimension Force that is also a Starlight, but that just seems like really bad. Interestingly enough, Pendulum Fusion only has the one printing from one of the most game-changing sets in Yu-Gi-Oh's history, Duelist Pack Dimensional Guardians, which, yeah, we try not to talk about that set. Anyways, guys, so for a while this card was like $1 each. I think in January the card went up a couple dollars to like $3, $4, maybe $5, and now the card is $10 each for no reason. I think that a big thing is just that it only has the one printing and it's a pretty difficult card to find because no one really opened the set, so no one really just has this card, which has caused the price to go up over time. However, as soon as this card does get a reprint, this card should tank in price. So if you guys do find yourself having this card in your bulk or anything like that for whatever reason, do everyone a favor, offload it as soon as you can for whatever value you can get, because this card definitely isn't going to be a part of a meta relevant deck anytime soon. Okay guys, that is it for today's episode. I know some pretty interesting stuff. Some of it makes sense. Some of it's just kind of like odd, right? We're still pretty early into the release of Dimension Force, so we probably haven't seen the real impact of like all the Therion stuff quite yet. But it will be interesting to see what happens with the format, especially with all of the nationals and stuff happening over the next month or so. Anyways, guys, if you did enjoy today's Market Watch episode, please make sure you let me know by slamming that thumbs up button. Also, make sure you leave a comment in the comments section down below. Let me know what you guys think about the cards we talked about today, and let me know what other buyouts and price spikes are happening with the market so I can cover them in a future episode as well. Also, if you haven't already, do make sure that you hit that subscribe button to get all of the latest and greatest content from both Tombox and myself here on the channel. And until next time, guys, don't forget to hold on to your MST.TV.